2 weeks ago, we saw the middleweight championship get put up for grabs, and we got a new champion. Dricus du Plessis took down Sean Strickland over the course of a 5-round decision. He became the champion. Sean Strickland now back into the contender pool of the 185-pound division. A lot to still get situated there in the coming weeks and months. Maybe even something happening at UFC 300. We are still awaiting the big main event announcement for that card from Dana White that could be happening this week. But as of today, Wednesday, when I'm recording this, no announcement just yet. But the middleweight division is churning. The title just got solidified, and a new champion is atop the throne. Now we have number 8 ranked Roman Dolidze coming in having won 4 of his last 5 fights. The only loss was last year to Marvin Vettori in a very close decision. And he's taking on the number 11 ranked Nassourdine Imavov, looking to get back on track after a no contest and a loss in his last 2 fights. I really like this UFC Vegas 85 main event between Roman Dolidze and Nassourdine Imavov, and the main reason is this. We've seen both of these guys get into a fight where winning would put them into legitimate title contention, and they both lost that fight. So we look at Roman Dolidze first, the 35-year-old from the country of Georgia. He fought Marvin Vettori in March of last year in a very close 3-round decision. Could have went either way. Marvin gets the nod. I saw a lot of people even throughout the week leading into the event Saturday saying they thought Roman should have got the nod there. But I digress. A loss is a loss at the end of the day. Prior to that, though, he had won 4 straight, 3 of those by knockout, even a knockout over a ranked Jack Hermanson. You put together a win streak like that, you are going to put yourself into a spot in this division where in 2023 was relatively stale, didn't have a lot of movement outside of the title picture, which was essentially getting tossed back and forth between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya. And then, of course, we saw Sean Strickland enter that late into the fall of 2023. And that's why that was such an important fight for Roman. Had he beat Marvin Vettori, he would have entered the top 5 for the first time in his career. He would have had a legitimate say in a potential title opportunity, having what would have been a 5-fight win streak with 2 top 10 victories over Vettori and Hermanson. However, that was not the case. He falters, and now, after what has nearly been 1 full year off, it'll be just under 11 months since that fight, he is back in action against Imavov. And for Nassourdine, much of the same. He had started his UFC tenure with a 1-1 record, but then rallied off 3 straight victories over the likes of Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian, who is returning actually relatively soon. They just announced yesterday. Shout out to Big Marcel on Twitter. And then he got a victory over Joaquin Buckley. 2 of those were by knockout, and he had earned himself a top 15 spot in the middleweight rankings and an opportunity to fight Sean Strickland at the very beginning of last year. Now, yes, at that point, Sean wasn't necessarily a title contender, but he had started building a big name for himself, so he was never really that far away from title contention. I mean, if we look at the year that Sean Strickland had, he beat Imavov, and then he beat Abus Magomedov, and then he got a title opportunity. So if you would have all of a sudden switched the result there, and Nassourdine had gotten a victory over Strickland, had made his win streak 4 in a row with a top 10 victory under his resume, someone who had lost to the champion at the time, Alex Pereira, we really could have seen Imavov take one more big step into the top 5 and potentially be amongst the title contenders in this division. However, that was not the case. He loses over the course of 5 rounds to Sean Strickland, has to take a fight back in the rankings. I don't even know if Chris Curtis at the time in June was ranked, but then they fight and this fight gets stopped via no contest where they had an accidental clash of heads in the 2nd round. So the 2 of these guys are very similar in a sense, the way that they've had their runs in the UFC thus far. Roman 6-2, Imavov 4-2 with that no contest to Chris Curtis. The big difference here is the age. Nassourdine seems to have more time to put things together, being only 28. For Roman Dolidze, 35, only 14 pro fights, started his journey a little bit later than most, but he's made his way here. Both these guys in similar spots. And I'm not going to say it's a do or die where if you lose this one, you may never get your opportunity to truly be amongst title contenders in this division. But if having this title fight is worth anything in January, I think it is starting, what could be a pretty important year for the 185-pound division, a year where we can see movement throughout the number 1 through number 15 rankings while still having active championship bouts. And that is why I believe that this fight is very important. A win here for either man can put them one more win away from a title shot in this middleweight division. Outside of the 7-year, advantage, if you will, for Imavov being 7 years younger than Dolidze, stature-wise, they're very similar. 6'2" versus 6'3", 76 versus 75 in terms of inches of reach. Both are very physically strong, and Roman is probably going to look a little bit thicker, probably walks around a little bit heavier naturally, but these are two very strong guys that have very well-rounded skill sets when they're in the octagon. Imavov always is going to have the wrestling in his back pocket that he can resort to, but he's shown in a lot of his fights that he will default to just standing, clinching, and doing well in the striking department to get his victories. And for Dolidze, he is very strong and powerful, but he will elect to try and get the fight to the ground, if so, in order to get the finishes. Just see that one that he got over Jack Hermanson. So I think when you add in the types of styles that these guys have, where Nassourdine, yes, isn't in, barn burners, and neither is Dolidze, but both have finishing capabilities. I think when you add that in with the importance of number 8 versus number 11, you win here, you can get yourself a top 5 opponent in your next fight. I think it makes for a very good main event, and what is back-to-back middleweight main events, the title fight at the end of January, and now this one here to start February. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this middleweight main event? Is it deserving? Is it a pretty important fight? And what are your predictions? How do you see this one playing out? The number 8 ranked Roman Dolidze coming in as the betting underdog, plus 140, to the number 11 Nassourdine Imavov, minus 166 betting favorite. Will you be taking a side in this fight? Will you bet the dog in Roman Dolidze, or will you take the betting favorite in Imavov to get back on track after these last 2 iffy performances? And more importantly, do you think what I said rings true? Do you think that not only is this a big year, 2024, for the middleweight division, but is this a fight where it could be a do-or-die circumstance in terms of the loser here may not ever get a true crack into title contention? However, the winner could put themselves in an opportunity where they could be one win away from that ever so coveted UFC title shot. Give me all your thoughts on those questions in the comments below. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss breakdowns, thoughts, and opinions on fights such as these, alongside recaps of the most important results that happen every weekend throughout the mixed martial arts landscape, my thoughts on breaking news and fight announcements, and everything in between. Follow the show on social media at the BAJ MMA. Be sure to even follow along your favorite audio podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, and many more. There you can find my full card breakdowns and thoughts on all the biggest fights every single weekend. Pros to all the platforms. Join the community. Be a part of the discussion. Your support is appreciated. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the fights. Maybe by the time the fights go down Saturday, there'll be another video on the channel discussing some UFC 300 news. Time will tell, but enjoy it all this weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday for sure to recap this event and the main event. Roman Dolidze, Nassourdine Imavov.